And welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated. We're back for another week, presented by Drake's Place and Cottonwood Coffee. Man, we sure do appreciate them believing us. You know, we know it was a big weekend for Drake's Place. Pheasant opener out in South Dakota. They had all sorts of specials going on. I believe they were doing omelets this morning and yesterday or tomorrow morning. What day is today? So Saturday and they were doing omelets. They looked wonderful, man. I want an omelet. There's no crave an omelet. Cottonwood, we can't appreciate them enough. Their coffee is the best in town. You can get it in your own private residence. They will ship to you. And again, it's the best coffee. Kyle, when you posted about gaining Cottonwood as a sponsor, what'd you say? Life's too short to drink crappy coffee.
Yeah, for the Starbucks, man.
Yeah, amen. So, Kyle, how are you today?
I mean, nothing really grinding my gears this weekend. That's a little nod to the color and play-by-play commentators of the WIU game. But yeah, excellent to come out of Macomb with a win. You know, obviously it's a really far distance to travel for the guys. It's not always the easiest getting there. And all the fan support that turned out, that was pretty exciting to see as well. Saw quite a few tailgating pictures and blue and yellow that went out to support. So always excellent to see that and see the fanfare kind of continue to up the ante and raise their support is always nice as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always just a challenge. Stig speaks to that every time they go out to Macomb. Just the challenge of being there and getting there. And you bust an hour to get there, then you bust an hour back to stay, and it just doesn't sound like very much fun for sure. So it's a weird feeling. I wrote this at the end of Rants and Raves today. The Jacks have scored 40 or more points in every game this season, but it still feels like there's more out there. Are we just that spoiled as a fan base, or is the ceiling that high for this team?
I think the talent caliber is so strong, and the glimpses we've had with different matchups in terms of teams we're playing and different defensive schemes that are being thrown at us and different offensive schemes that are being thrown at us, it lends itself to, being entitled a little bit as fans to thinking that, we've seen them go like a hot knife through butter as far as the offense is concerned against teams like Colorado State. But, first games of the year, you're kind of catching teams off guard, off kilter, really not knowing maybe what the talent level is across from them, and then maybe not knowing what to expect, in terms of what they were throwing out there because of the whole 2020, bizarre circumstances that everybody had to endure. So I think, there's a lot to still examine and explore this year. You look at Chris Oladokin, he's only had this was week 7. So in terms of actual live fall camp weeks, maybe we had 6 to 8, and then he's got another 7 weeks that he's had. So he's only been here, 15 weeks. So almost, a few months maybe. So he's still kind of just finding his stride. And, that's the most important position in football. So I think he'll continue to take strides and make some big things happen for us. And I think he'll also take what's available and start to kind of find that rhythm again that we had earlier on in the season. And then as far as defensively real quick, I think defensively real quick, just to kind of cover both sides. Yeah, I think that when we get some guys healthy, right, and we're kind of back to full strength at some pivotal levels, the chain gang, our linebacking core, I think it was nice to play a team that we probably should have taken care of. No disrespect to WIU, but one that we should have taken care of this week after last week's physical, long game.
Yeah, agreed. And, on the injury front, it is concerning to see Quentin Hicks on crutches at the end of the game, not able to put a lot of weight on that leg as he was coming off the field. We'll see. Being down Tolu, being down Kevin Brenner, good thing our defensive line is as deep as it is, but Quentin and Tolu are 2 of our top 3, if not 4 defensive ends. So that is concerning there. So getting back to hitting our stride a little bit. This, I think, is an interesting comment and one that I made during the game. Run the ball. The OC needs to understand the caliber of PS2. And I screamed that in the first half for sure, in the first quarter. It was right before the series when we ran the ball 3 straight plays. And so I felt a little bit silly on that. We didn't get a first down on that drive. But it seemed like Coach Eck in this game. And I'm a fan of Coach Eck. I need to put that out there. I'm a fan of Coach Eck. I think what he's done with the offensive line is tremendous. His creativity as the play caller is tremendous. I think he struggled this game to hit his stride as a play caller. And a lot of play calling, when you talk to offensive coordinators, they talk about finding a groove, finding a rhythm. There was something weird going on. 3 straight passes, 1 possession. Then the next possession, they come out and run the ball 3 straight times. So I don't know what's going on. But it felt like in the second quarter, in the third quarter more so than the second quarter, he found his groove again as a play caller. And traditionally, he's been an excellent first half play caller. And so I'm really curious maybe what was going on yesterday. What did you see, Kyle?
A lot of things that you already kind of touched on. And, that's a great point by the comment that we had off the rip, because I think understanding the caliber of Pierre, definitely he knows what he's got, because that's why he implements wrinkles for him to even throw the rock. Pierre's passer rating and QB efficiency is through the roof, tops in the nation by far. Eric Barriere, he's actually a close second to Pierre from the QB position, right? But no, to bring it back, it's one of those things where I think Pierre's talents could be accentuated by a good number 2 back and utilizing that back more than we do just in cleanup minutes, right? Because when you look at when Pierre was really able to go off game 1, it was Pierre, and his fluidity, his jump cuts, his ability to kind of like just press on the stretch zone plays. And then you have, Isaiah coming in, bringing the hammer. I mean, that wears down a defense because you got the speed and then you got the power, and then you got Pierre's speed and power, and then you got Isaiah stiff arming you, right? Well, we know Isaiah's not coming back anytime soon, so we're not going to hold our breath. Well, let's go ahead and get some other guys some trust in pivotal moments. Let's get them some, opportunities to continue to stay on schedule with play calling. 3 straight passes not going to get it done. Now, I don't hate 3 straight passes as long as they're like an extension of the run game. We tried to do that on the second series, and it actually worked to our benefit. We had Yankee with a bubble screen or a tunnel screen. I can't quite remember which direction it was going. Got Tucker involved with the, you look like the swipe action, right? Like he's going to block back against the grain, and we're going to hand it off front side. And then we roll out and kind of just dump it to him quick, which is an extension of the run, really, if you think about it, because the distance of the pass is like 3 or 4 yards in the air. And then Tucker is a beast to try to tackle. So using your athletes like that, getting them touches, Tucker only had 2 looks. I think maybe we tried to go to him a few more times, but he really needs to be in the 5 catch range. And so does Zach, right? Our tight ends need to be targeted probably about 10 times. That's going to open up Pierre's run lanes a lot more because, the linebackers are going to soften a little bit here and there. Or if Pierre goes off, they're going to have to squeeze up, and then we take advantage over the top. So again, it's just finding that stride. I was talking with Chris earlier, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts, man. If you don't know what's there, your first read isn't there. In the pocket, you feel your internal clock start to tick down. Take 3-4 yards, get down, live to fight another day, or chuck the ball out of bounds, man. It's like our defense is solid. Let's lean on them. Let's lean on everybody around us in order to continue to stay on schedule and get into a rhythm as an offense,
Well, and he was sacked 3 times, right, in that first half, and I'd say
cleanish pockets. I thought. I didn't really think they were that bad. Yep.
I think the one time McCormick, right, just kind of whiffed on one. Is that
that was one of them for sure.
Yeah, that was one, and the other 2 might have been on Chris, just either coverage sacks or just needing to get rid of the ball a little bit sooner. So or chuck it out of bounds, like you said.
And another thing that he really excels at is moving moving outside the pocket, like when the play's designed, like designed rollouts, moving the pocket, him throwing the ball and getting rid of it on the run. Sometimes it just helps athletic players to get into the flow of the game. And that's one way to do it. I mean, that's how he just ate up Colorado State, right?
Right. Yeah. He was moving all the time. So, yeah. So,
and then the same thing when he hit, was it Canyon for the first touchdown?
Nope, it was one of the Yankees.
Through the air. Oh, one of the Yankees. So,
yep.
Yeah, it might have been Jackson, right? So when he was trying to go to Tucker on the play action, but he was able to use his ability again, much like he did against Colorado State, where he faked like he was going to continue to roll out, kind of bought some pocket time and moved up in the pocket and climbed and then found him. So, I mean, I think he likes moving and throwing at the same time simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we'll see some more of that. The only issue is what we saw against Southern Illinois. When you do continue to roll out, your field gets shorter that you have to throw, and then you take that risk of throwing it back across your body, et cetera, et cetera. We saw how that went. So, I get it. He has that ability though to make the plays on the run, which is a nice talent to have, I suppose. So I want to talk about third down. And because third down was an issue against Southern Illinois, and it was again an issue, especially in the first half this week. I don't have the exact stat. They flashed it up at halftime when they were doing the broadcast. And I believe it was like 1 of 6 or something like that. It was poor. We finished the game 4 of 12, which really still isn't great. It's not where we want to be. It's not where we were in the spring. And it's going to have to get a lot better going forward. Conversely, Western Illinois was 7 of 18 is where they ended. And they were, again, a lot better in the first half. They were, I think probably around 60% in the first half looking at the numbers. So if it wasn't for that strip sack, that could have been a little uglier potentially. So that's something that I think both sides of the ball have to get a little bit better at is converting on third down, getting off the field on third down. And on the first Western Illinois touchdown, or was it the first drive where they fumbled? Whatever, one of the two. They converted on a couple third and long again, and that was just a little bit concerning. The wide receivers found pockets or holes in our deep zone, and were able to convert. And so that's tough because you get a team in third and long and you think, all right, let's just do our job, keep the ball, tackle them before they get the first down. But then they kind of get an easy pitch and catch right in the middle of a pocket of our zone. So we got to figure out a way to shore that up. Getting Backus back may help. So we'll see there. Yeah,
no, you bring up excellent points. I think there's a few things to touch on there specifically. Number one, the team that we're playing, Northern Iowa Panthers, have a going into the South Dakota game, were executing at a really good clip defensively. So they were only allowing conversions at 31% on third down. Now, conversely, their offense was only converting at 36%. So comparable to the Jacks, but now they played North Dakota State. They played Youngstown State. There's some more prominent defenses, and I'm not putting Youngstown's defense in the same category as North Dakota State's because I think they're only averaging somewhere close to 7 points per game allowed are the Furries. So, but with respect to us executing on third down, we're getting behind and off schedule, right? So some of our first down runs aren't hitting as they're supposed to, and when you go 3 straight passes that are 3 straight incompletions, that doesn't bode well. So you're already starting off with 2 drives behind, right? So that can change with some better play calling. I wasn't thrilled with the offensive game plan coming into this game in terms of what they showed. Now maybe they didn't get through all the things they wanted to, and we didn't really need to show much because again, I think we had a deeper roster. But give them credit too, man. Their defense was flying around. They were being physical. They were doing certain things to kind of keep us off our rhythm. But that's only going to get tougher, right, as we enter into really this gauntlet here. Because I don't think anybody has a tougher gauntlet than Northern Iowa did in terms of what they had to finish through. I think they have us, or they had South Dakota, or they had North Dakota State, South Dakota, us, Southern Illinois. So, I mean, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, they will know if they're in the playoffs or not at the end of the next 2 weeks here. So, yeah. One thing here, Jordan Fink, our buddy, brings up a good point. Jordan last week talked about identity for the Jackrabbit offense, and with Isaiah being out, maybe we just don't have the same identity. That kind of continues with this comment here. Part of it is we don't want to overuse Pierre. He still did finish with 19 touches. I think the number that we've thrown around is that 20 to 25 range that we would like to see Pierre in, both rushing and receiving. And he finished with 19. And part of that is because it was an early day for him. It wasn't a full game. But yeah, Jordan brings up a good point. We really can't afford to lose Pierre right now. So
yeah, but I disagree with that, actually.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do disagree with that. I think we're over you, and I'm not trying to be contentious, just from the standpoint, like, I think
It's
maybe
splitting hairs, Kyle.
That's right. I think we're maybe a little reliant on him in a lot of ways. If you just look at, if you're to take away his production against Southern, I mean, you have Tucker, who really showed out, and you have Jaden Yankee, who showed out and really could have honestly had even more yards on a one deep pass, right, against Southern Illinois. Then you look at this week, well, we had great contributions from Bauer, from both the Yankees, a little bit from Kraft, obviously Pierre again. But I think we're a little heavy on that, and I'd like to see more of a multi-back situation. And so if we don't want to use him, let's not use him 5 straight drives in a row. I mean, because I think he will be more overwhelming to a defense if we sprinkle some other guys in, and I want to use him as much as I can, but he's a human being, those hits take a toll. This is Valley play now.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think we talked about it in our group thread. Amar Johnson, when he gets in the game, looks good. I want to see Amar behind the number one offensive line. We put that in our what to watch this week. Let Amar have a chance behind the number one offensive line. And if this is public, this has been said public, so we're not breaking news here anymore. But Mike Morgan's our third back.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
If we get to the spot in the season where Mike Morgan has to carry the ball, I don't want his first carry to come against NDSU or USD. Man.
Well, and what bothers me about this, and this is not even just the Jacks, this is with a lot of programs, they develop so much of their own identity with what they have on their roster. I think they forget that football is football. And if you didn't trust Mike Morgan to be in there in short yardage situations, I mean, a dude caught a 60-yard touchdown, albeit against a little bit different level of competition. But I mean, he was making guys miss an open field. You're telling me he can't get 2 yards in a cloud of dust in short yardage? You're telling me we can't go offset pistol or bring in 22 personnel, which is 2 backs, 2 tight ends. We can't bring in 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends, and just assert our will. I think we need to play bully ball. That's been a hashtag that I'm pushing out there. I think we need to play bully ball and dictate the flow of the game, right? As opposed to, I mean, we have passing athletes. We have awesome athletes on the perimeter, and they continue to emerge, but we're a running team. Look at last year, we had a 3-headed monster in the backfield, and we were able to control time of possession. We controlled field position. We played great defense. We played good special teams. That's the formula, and it needs to be the formula going forward.
Yep. And that's some of the stuff Jordan hit on last week that you just said. So I want to get in because you've brought this up a couple times. You brought him up a couple times. Canyon Bauer, what a game for him. And I think this is a theme. Some of these players that maybe are on, are good players, but just can't crack the rotation. I don't know how to put it, because you look at it. Where did he get his spark? Kind of on that touchdown, the block punt that came right to him that he scored on, and you could just see people were happy for him. He was pumped. It just turned the tide of the game. But then he comes back and he catches a huge 3rd down pass, and he doesn't go down after he catches it. He pivots and sprints up the field, blew by 3 defenders before we getting tackled. And that's what we've seen, or that's what we've heard about Canyon when he signed, was that he's this tremendous athlete with track speed. And if he can become that complementary receiver to the Yankees, that's really exciting, because he's had a couple good games. He had a couple nice catches against Southern last week too. And so I really look for that, for him to continue to develop, because really you look at it and let's go through the list. We have the Yankees as our 1 and 2. We have Tucker at 3, Pierre at 4, Zach at 5. He's kind of our 6th option in the passing game. and that puts a ton of stress on a defense when you can roll out 6 weapons. You wouldn't have 2 tight ends and 3 wide receivers typically, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It puts a ton of stress on a defense when you can put that many weapons out there that are threats to catch and run and score. So I really look for Canyon to continue to build on the last 2 weeks. Huge progress for him.
Very much so. Very well put. And I think, just to underscore your point about making an impact and then trying to find your in, right? Tyrell Cool against Minnesota, before he really got a lot of play at running back, right? I'm going back a little bit here, but had like 3 kick returns for 70, 80 yards apiece on each return, setting up a score opportunity. And that's huge, right? Like making an impact when you get an opportunity. Same thing for Zenner. Zenner really started out as a special team stalwart, returning kicks, and then, make an impact in the passing game. His first touchdown was a screen pass, I believe, collegiately against Cal Poly. So it's just really cool to see guys emerge in their own way. And I think that Canyon really turned the tide in terms of the momentum in that game. Specifically, obviously returning the punt for a touchdown, but the block punt for a touchdown, but also on that play that you echoed, Matt, where he put us in field goal range. Obviously we don't want to settle for a field goal there, but I mean, he really got more yak, right? That helped put us in a position to be able to secure some more points there late. Yeah,
definitely. A couple other things that I've just been, rolling around in my brain since the game. Let's jump to you, Kyle. Do you have anything? Sorry, I just got distracted there for a second. What are some of your thoughts?
The game as a whole?
Yeah, just as a whole. Like,
I think we touched on it. I think we touched on the offensive side. I think, would love to see us lean a little bit more on the run game. And I'm not talking about the run game just being Pierre, because I really do think, like I said, Pierre's going to get even more loose when we have a little bit of a sprinkled change of pace in there. I do want to see defensively what we can do against this team, because they showed that I know we're talking WIU, but we have a really good pass rush, right? So I want to see what some of our stunts can do to overwhelm them. They have a good offensive line, but some of their tight end play when they stayed in to help pass protect, got exploited against USD last week. And I think we can take some shots there. I loved what we did from a linebacker position against WIU, Schaefer stepping up and making some good plays. I know you highlighted that in Rants and Raves. I thought that was a good point. Obviously, Adam Bach, man, he's all over the field. I mean, that guy, I wonder what he feels like Sunday mornings. I want to highlight Dyshawn Gales. I thought he made some really great plays in tight situations, carrying his man all the way down the field. And, Connor Sampson is a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. If you rewatch that film, his pocket presence and pocket awareness was really, really good. It's back-to-back weeks. We've probably played some of the best pocket-aware quarterbacks that we've got in our league. And that's going to bode well coming into this gauntlet again, like we're going to run through.
He, I have to say Sampson does throw too many lollipops for my personal preference. But that's maybe just me. So
I debated with Lauren whether or not I should just throw a lollipop in my mouth here to start the pod, Right. But the flies in here were grinding my gears, so
funny.
And I couldn't get my tux pressed in time. So
darn it. I did point this out, but because we wrote about it in our What to Watch, you just got to reiterate it here on the podcast. Our secondary did a phenomenal job on Dennis Houston. WIU as a whole finished with 207 passing yards. Most of that came in the first half. Dennis Houston had 14 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown, which came on the end around, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, they did such a good job on him of rally tackling and making sure that when he caught the ball, he had nowhere to go because he is kind of a yak monster as well. He's a good receiver, a big bodied receiver, and Deshaun was there for a lot of it. We saw Stephen Arell out there on him a few times. I like those matchups when we have our bigger corners out there. Deshaun is such a cool story. One, I met his family at Frisco, and they had the best outfits, full shirts with Deshaun's like face and image as a player all over the shirt. And that was so cool. It was just, they just stood out. You know who they were repping. So that was cool. And then just his story, right? He played quarterback in high school, didn't know how to backpedal when he got to SDSU. Dan Jackson had the foresight. They saw the potential in him, brought him in, switched him to cornerback. He's a walk-on, paid his own way for his first year. I'm guessing he's on scholarship now. But man, he's going to be a good corner, and he is a good corner already.
And he's physical. I mean, I'm like, wow. And I'm not talking physical where he gets handsy at points where he's not supposed to. I'm saying he lowers the boom when he steps up on run fits, when he comes into support. I mean, we saw one of the first big hits of the year against Colorado State, but he makes his presence known. And then when you do that as a physical DB, the wide receivers start to hear footsteps even when maybe they're not there. And then, when you can play in their head, kind of like Dennis Rodman-esque, it always really works out in your favor down the stretch.
Yeah. So I like that. The one area we haven't talked about is special teams. Obviously the block punt. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the wind, but I think Tyler Feldkamp has these punters scared. They are not punching the ball to him. And he's had a few good punts. Yeah.
They were, that punter was rough. But I will say this, I got some great shots from the Jackrabbit Sports Network in Tyler's edits. And I was checking out the trajectory that Fromm was kicking, and he was keeping it low and really driving through the ball versus like even their field goal. It was a lollipop. It had a little bit more arc on it, and it looked like it was fighting a lot of wind. So, maybe there was a lot of, resistance coming, swirling, and, really making it difficult on the punters and the kickers. I don't know. It's hard to tell through the TV.
I'm just, Feldkamp, the first half against Dixie State and against Indiana State, he had some nice returns, right?
Yeah.
But now we've seen 2 games in a row where SIU did not want to punt towards him. Like that was their strategy to let it roll. Like a bold move. We'll see. Sometimes that backfires. But I mean, I don't know that. How could WIU be that unprepared?
Yeah,
that was their punting strategy.
This is what I want to see, Matt. You asked me what I think about the game. This is what I want to see from the Jacks moving forward. And coaches probably don't even watch this. Maybe some of the other media folks do, and maybe they agree or maybe they don't. But the reality is I want to see us dictate games more. And you're like, well, Kyle, that we're scoring 41 points plus a game. Like, what do you want to see more of? I want to see us force the hand of the teams that we're playing. You just talked about not kicking to Tyler. Put 2 guys back. You have to kick to one of them. Tell the other guy not to touch the ball if you're worried about securing it, and then from there, the run game. If you possess the ball and you're going up against a good offense, well, they can't get more opportunities to score and to press the field. And what's one of our strengths? Defense. We had like 3 or 4 goal line stops against one of the best offenses in the nation. Come on here. Football is not hard. If I can understand it, it's got to be all right. It's not that complicated. Because Matt, you and I are calling out things that they should be doing in our what to watch, and and it's coming true a lot of times. So, I don't know. That's my little rant.
And that's a good plug. The folks that are listening to this don't need to know this, or they already know this, but read our what to watch. Like that is one of the best things we do, but it is the least read article that we do. So,
and it comes to fruition every time. Like it seems like all the things we point out, we either hit on, or those are the things that we could improve on that are causing some tension and some headaches during the game.
Yeah, so we'd appreciate if you'd share that article. So the B team did this last week at the end, but I want to make sure we get it here in the middle before we do game balls. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, reshares, comments, whatever. You're helping us grow, and we appreciate that. Absolutely. So thank you for just kind of being with us for the last this is our 5th season now. So, right? Yeah. 5th season of the blog and the blog and podcast. Yeah.
So, podcast is only our 3rd, which is kind of cool. But this is only our 2nd. This is our first full season streaming live.
Yep.
But to that point, I did see an additional review on Apple Podcasts. So for those of you who just listen, if you want to go leave us a review, really grateful for that. That will help our podcast appear more in the search function. It works better for their algorithm. And with that review that we got, Matt, the gist of it was they liked us in terms of staying on point, on brand, and not getting too ahead of ourselves. I guess maybe there's some sports podcasts that get political or whatever the case may be. We appreciate that. We'll never go that route. And so I think that, it's just fun to do this, and it's fun to hear your feedback.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you. That's what we wanted to say there is thank you. All right. So game balls presented by Jackrabbit Central. So again, Jackrabbit Central is the home to get all of your Jacks gear. It's the best selection, best customer service. You can get it at the stadium on game day, 2 hours before kickoff. Or if you find yourself in Brookings 2 hours before kickoff, head to the Union, head to Jackrabbit Central in downtown Brookings. Or if you're like Kyle and just rarely get to Brookings, they will send it to you. So great selection, great stuff. And then with that, I just want to give a quick shout out. And this is not a sponsor. This is a friend. My friend Nathaniel Candelli. So Candelli has commented here. He's a fan of the pod, fan of the blog. He just opened up a new restaurant in Brookings. And I'm going to get the name right here. So just give me a second. But it is Mosaic Wine Bar and Small Plates. It's in the lower level of the Masonic Lodge. It used to be the secondhand not thrift store, but secondhand nicer clothing in Brookings. They had their soft opening last night, and they're opening this week with grand opening to follow. So go support them. Mosaic Wine Bar and Small Plates. So definitely kind of a new style to downtown Brookings. So give that a check, or give that a check it out. And congratulations, Condelli. Proud of you, buddy. So, all right, game balls. Let's get back there. So on offense this week, I went with Jackson Yankee. I mean, I just think 9 receptions, 100 and some yards, a touchdown. I said it in the blog. He got a rave. I think we have to insert him into the conversation as one of the best wide receivers in the Valley. Oh yeah. We have Avante Cox. We have Dennis Houston. We have Isaiah Weston from UNI. So those 3 stand out. Cody Case down at USD. Don't want to talk about him too much. He's a heck of a receiver though. So those are some of the best receivers in the conference. And I think Jackson's right there with them in terms of what he does: run blocking, run after the catch, big physical. So yeah, agree. And agree. All right. Defensively, who you going with?
Defensively, I got to go with Winkleman. He was a beast on the edge. I know it's not really sexy. It's not too shocking if you watch the game. Just the havoc he was able to wreak. I think did he have 2 sacks and a forced fumble, recovered the fumble as well, which was huge because they were starting to drive. They were starting to build on some confidence. So anytime you have an upperclassman who's able to kind of assert his own will, I love to see it. And, hopefully we can carry that in because we're going to need a good pass rush this week. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah. He only had 2 tackles, but they were both sacks, the forced fumble recovery, pass breakup, and an additional quarterback hit. That's a monster stat line as a defensive end.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. And special teams, do you want to do one for special teams?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it's 1 and 1A here for me. So I'm going to go with Kinzer Madison. Obviously, don't talk about his name very much, but if you're going to bring it up, punt block is going to be a fantastic way to get your name recognized. And then obviously Canyon Bauer. We talked about the impact folks can have on the game, and scooping and scoring is no better way to do it. And I think obviously his impact offensively kind of carries over into having the special teams player of the week nod as well.
Yep, agreed on both. All right, Kyle. Happy Hobo Week.
Let's go.
So Kyle, you were a player, so you didn't get to experience Hobo Day to its full extent. So what is your favorite Hobo Day memory?
Yeah, that's a great one, man. So there's a couple that stick out. So the first one, 2009, when we actually beat Northern Iowa in a pretty exciting game. I had one of the longest catches of my career with I tore basically my forearm. It's more complicated, but tore my forearm. So I had like this boxing tape job on, and I caught a play action ball from Thomas O'Brien in a pivotal moment that we ended up driving down and scoring. And then I had Ryan Crawford, who was a good quarterback for the Jacks that year too, but was recovering from a knee injury. He goes, "Why didn't you hurdle him?" And I was like, "Ryan, do you know my athletic ability here, dude? Like, I'm going to lower the head before I go over somebody." But that was just funny to me. So that strikes a chord with me. And then Colin Koshart made a great catch to really kind of seal it. Glenn Fox went off. I think Fox tore them up through the air as a receiver. He was an Iowa kid too, so that was really exciting for him. It was just great to see your team do big things. And then my senior year, man, we started out strong, beating Southern Utah to start the year in overtime, and then really just shot ourselves in the foot a couple times there. Went on a string, and then we beat the brakes off of Southern Illinois. Scored like 45 some points on them too. So that was a great way to end the career. And I love the gold pants, man. The gold pants looked good this past weekend for the guys. And historically, for those of you who don't know, that was only a Hobo Day thing. So that was kind of exciting.
I didn't know that.
Special games, but it was Hobo Day, and I think North Dakota State every now and again.
Huh. So before I go, I want to encourage people to send us in their favorite Hobo Day memories or traditions. Keep it PG, folks, or PG-13. It's a family-friendly show here. So Scott says tailgating, Hobo Days. Careful, Scott. We never know who's watching. They prefer Hobo Week and Hobo Day. So, but you can call it what you want. My favorite Hobo Day memory is my junior year. So we had stayed out and had a good time, but then I was also helping with the parade the next day, and get to the Union and find out that I get to drive a convertible through the parade with President Emeritus Peggy Miller riding in the back of the convertible. So we head on down to Einspars, and I get the keys to this convertible, super cool, and take off down 22nd Street. There's this whole line of cars. And right then, that's when paper planes was super popular.
Oh, love that.
And so all of us, had our guns up in the air.
That was a banger back then, man.
Yeah, man. And so just I love everything SDSU. That's why I do a stupid podcast like this. But Hobo Day was just incredible. And that's one of my favorite memories, talking to Peggy. Chad. Talking to Peggy Miller, getting to know her. She told me she loves everyone from Clark. I'm from Clark, if y'all didn't know. Which also, fun fact, the guy that brought Hobo Day to SDSU was from Clark. So
love that.
Jerry Lohr's from Clark County. So yeah, Shannon Schlegel, lots of good people from Clark. Skylar Flatten.
Names up off the floor, Matt. Pick those.
I know name dropping here.
Hey, right. No, that's awesome, man. I love learning that because I'm a native. And to that point, can you kind of elaborate a little bit on, for folks who don't know, elaborate a little bit on what the tradition of Hobo Day is, kind of how it it got some legs. And after my dogs quit barking here, sorry about that.
It's all right. So Hobo Day all started. The legend goes when the students went to the train station, dressed in their nightgowns. I believe if someone that knows better can talk to this, go ahead. But they went to the train station in their nightgowns.
In the 20s or so,
in
right?
the 20s, yep. And then it kind of evolved into this other tradition because this gentleman from Clark had come from Missouri where they did have a Hobo Day. That was kind of their homecoming. Thought it was a neat tradition. And then, it kind of stuck at SDSU where it hadn't worked in Missouri. And, there's all sorts of fun things that happen throughout the week. Rally at the Rails is a big one.
That's cool.
They do a bum meal, bum Olympics, a bum sleepover. The bum a meal was one of my favorite ones. Just cooking. We used to get to cook a meal too. Now they go out and do like the community to actual houses and do it. Being in a fraternity, we just did it at our fraternity house, and that was still a pretty neat thing. Good brotherhood there. But just like the energy on campus is just different.
You can feel it.
You can definitely feel it. One of my other favorite memories is a fun event. I was at a house party earlier in the week on Hobo Week, but also had my first wildlife and fisheries test of the semester, and went to this house party. And I've graduated a long time ago, so it's statute of limitations, right? And went to this house party. I don't know what time we got back. It was fairly late, but woke up the next morning and it was like 8:10. Class started at 8 in dairy science. So I hop out of my bunk in Hanson Hall, sprint down the sidewalk, roll into the lecture hall there in dairy science. And I'm like, oh man, I had some people in my room last night. They must have turned my alarm clock off. Can I still take the test? And the professor, bless his heart, he goes, oh wow, that's really bad luck. Yeah, of course. Like, here's the test. If you need a little help, if you need any more time afterwards, you can come back to my office and take it still. But I finished it up in class that day. I finished it up. Didn't do too hot in it, and so I had to bust my butt for the rest of that semester to get good scores on the rest of my tests. So I, got to be in the class. So that's not a good Hobo Day memory. But
you're a better man than I. Better refrain. I'm gonna plead the fifth from telling any stories about class or missing class or anything. I've already kind of told the one about Coach Conklin letting me have it. So I'm gonna refrain.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about UNI, because you spent some time watching UNI. I watched a bit of their game yesterday with USD. So what do you think, Kyle? What'd you see?
So I saw them shoot themselves in the foot quite a bit, right? A lot of penalties, a lot of unclean play, something that unfortunately we've seen far too much of from ourselves as of late. So, something's going to have to give here. But what I did see that's really consistent defensively, they got Butcher and Brinkman, the Bash brothers, starting with a B, right? So 94 is Butcher and 44 is Brinkman, and they are stalwarts. They will get in your grill and they will make you remember them. And Brinkman had a field day last year, right, against us, just wreaking havoc in the backfield. I thought they showed up a lot more in the run game. I know Tice of South Dakota, the running back for them, had over 100 yards rushing, but a lot of that was just wearing them down over the course. They had a terrible field position go of it against the Coyotes. Coyotes are a good team. One thing I did notice, Coyotes were very physical in the receiving core and in the tight end core. I think maybe that's probably where we can eat a little bit as far as the Jacks offensive roster. I think, looking at them from an offensive perspective, I think they do a lot of things that we're used to seeing from other programs. They run the stretch zone. I think they're going to do a lot of jet sweeps with Quan Hampton, and they're going to use
Deion McShane.
obviously Deion McShane. They're going to use his brother Vance McShane. who is a running back who had a 60-plus yard scamper against the Coyotes. They're going to use Bradrick Shaw, who's a transfer from Cal, big, more physical back. He's going to go off too. And now one of the things for folks who have been used to seeing the Panthers the past couple of years is Will McElwain is no longer under center for them. It kind of hit national news. McElwain entered the transfer portal mid-season. Mark Farley, the historic coach over there, the legend, said that, he doesn't fault him for it. He's always been a Northern Iowa guy who was a walk-on, and now he's going to get a shot to play. And when you're a quarterback, you have limited opportunities to play. Fortunately for them, they had a guy named Theo Day come in from Michigan State, entered the transfer portal. We're starting to see
four-star recruit.
Four-star recruit. We're starting to see a real impact here in the Missouri Valley with transfers, right? So we've seen it 2 weeks ago with Southern Illinois, with Donovan Spencer, who they rolled out, right, and who made a big impact play in that game. And you saw there were plenty of transfers on WIU's squad, even going back to the 2021 spring season. So it's starting to be an impact here. Theo stepped in against Sacramento State when they were stalling. Sacramento State just got a big upset against Montana at Washington Grizzlies Stadium, which really has shaken up the top five a bit more since last week when both JMU and the good guys fell, right? So there's a lot starting to take shape, and the complexion of FCS football is starting to settle a little bit here. I do think Theo Day's a good quarterback. I think he made some mistakes that seem to be a little bit forced from his own hand and not necessarily from the defense. But it'll be interesting to see how the Jacks can play in coverage. I know from UNI's perspective, there were a lot of holes in zone coverage. When they went zone coverage, South Dakota took advantage of it. They sat down and found the voids, and their tight ends were really physical, trucked a lot of their DBs. Their special teams really stepped up, blocked a punt, kind of a blocked punt. It was more of a bobbled snap and then a shank. But then their punter pinned them back deep to where the Panthers were just consistently starting in atrocious field position. So, it's no secret. If we can play complete in three phases of the game, I think we're gonna be able to do what we do. We cannot get behind schedule. I think that's going to be our big what to watch from my perspective is winning on first down, because if you win on first down, I think you have more of an opportunity to set yourself up for more advantageous third downs, right? So maybe not winning on first down, but staying on schedule would be something that I would like to see offensively, whether it's through the air or on the ground. I trust Coach Eck because he's a hell of a play caller, really, when it boils down. And then defensively, what are we going to do? Are we going to throw blitzes at them? Are we going to throw stunts at them? Are we going to try to help our coverage that way? Are we going to go man? We're going to go zone? It'll be interesting.
Yeah, one matchup that I'm already kind of looking at is UNI has Omar Brown at their one cornerback. And Omar Brown's a very good player. He was a freshman All-American. Really good ball skills. If there's a ball that he can intercept, he's going to. But their other cornerback is Stephon Black, who I think was originally an Air Force commit, and we were after him as well. A very good cornerback, but he's just a second-year player. He's still growing, and I think USD had a lot of success kind of targeting him or his area yesterday. And so that's a matchup. I think whatever Yankee he ends up in that area, I think that could be an advantageous matchup for us. We talked about this last year. UNI's linebackers are very good, but they're your more traditional thumper type of linebackers. They want to smack you. They're best in the run game. And I think an athletic tight end like Tucker can give them some fits. We know going into last year's game against UNI, which was our first game, Tucker was very much a huge part of that offensive game plan. And then he dropped out in the first game first series after his injury. We saw Zach Hines have a big game last year against UNI. And so that's something I'm really looking at is maybe our tight ends having a big game against their smaller safeties. And they're I don't want to even call them slower, but they're just more of a thumper type of linebacker, more of a traditional linebacker is what they run across. So we'll see what happens there. I'm excited for that. Defensively, going for us, and we'll see, right? Because he went down. But Isaiah Weston, who we've already talked about in this episode as being one of the best receivers in the Valley, took a pretty good lick against USD right at the end of the first half and did not play in the second half. He went out with an apparent shoulder injury, was ruled almost right away that he wasn't coming back, is what they said out of the break. So that's worth watching because a trio of Isaiah Weston, Deion McShane, and Quan Hampton, that's a pretty good trio of wide receivers.
Right.
And so we'll have to watch that. I know when Weston has missed time in the past, they've gone with Logan Wolf, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
He's another big receiver on the outside. He doesn't have a ton of production this year, just has one reception for 9 yards. 2 years ago, right?
Sorry to interrupt real quick. Sergio Moranti kind of filled in that void.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Number 82. So I saw him kind of make an impact. He dropped some balls that I thought were pretty catchable as well. So it'll be something to keep an eye on there. Just wanted
Is he a true freshman or a
he's I don't know if he's true or not, but he's coming from Florida out there.
Yep.
So Graham, and then we should mention Zach. Is it Zach Wilson, 95, who got his first sack collegiately?
Yeah, yep.
So
another Florida boy.
Florida connection here. Maybe we can have a little ante on the line, up the ante a little bit here.
Yeah. Hey, and that you talked about Broderick Shaw. So he was originally at Wisconsin, had a bunch of carries at Wisconsin, went to Cal just for a little more playing time to kind of be the guy, and now grad transferred back to the Midwest here to UNI. So he had a good game against NDSU, and I could potentially see him along with Dom Williams get a lot of carries. So
this is going to be a physical game. Like it usually is, right? It's a grinded out game. It'll probably come down to the wire, but the Jacks really need to bring it. They need to bring their lunch pails, and they need to be as physical as they possibly can to set the tone.
Yeah.
Because this team is big and they play bully ball. So who can be the bigger bully on the block?
Yep. And I guess, Dom Williams dropped out of that game too. So very interesting. And I think Chad's exactly right. We still need to focus on cleaning it up. We did only have 7 penalties against Western. So we improved a little bit, but there's still a long ways to go in our execution, especially just like some of the plays we made were incredible yesterday. And some of the layups we missed were mind-boggling.
Yep.
And so
they were those penalties that we had, although they were fewer in number, they were drive killers. They were false starts, just not being locked in and doing their 111th at the time. But I know we'll get it cleaned up, man. We're by and large, in terms of penalties, we are one of the more disciplined teams in the nation.
Interesting. All right, so we'll get into predictions here. And this prediction segment is brought to you by Eric Erickson of Cutler Law Firm. So Eric, Cutler Law Firm is a full-service law firm from Sioux Falls. They build relationships based on trust by treating clients with honesty and integrity. That personal attention provides prompt, efficient legal solutions in corporations and business, financial services, litigation, trusts, and estates, and more. So if you want to get a hold of Eric, 605-271-4938 or Eric E at cutlerlawfirm.com. So thanks, Eric, for your sponsorship. Can't wait to have or hang out with you at tailgating coming up here. So, all right. So predictions.
Am I going first? I'll go first.
Yeah,
Let me
go first
shoot from the hip here. I'm going to go. I think I think South Dakota put up 34. I'm going to go 37-24 Jacks.
Okay. Man, for once, I'm going to go a little bit more of a lower scoring game. These games against UNI are just slugfests every time. And so for that reason, I'm going to go Jackrabbits 24, UNI 17. So, players to watch. I touched on this a little bit. I think our tight ends are just going to be matchup problems for the UNI linebackers. I think their safeties are maybe a little too small to cover our guys. And so for that reason, I'm going with Zach Hines and Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, no, those are really good. I'm gonna chime in there with you. I'm gonna go with Tucker on offense and Pierre. I think the big guys got to eat up front. I think Pierre may have more of an impact in the passing game, so kind of keep an eye on that. Than the run game. I think he'll have a good running performance, but I think last year he did really well with the bench routes where you're sitting down in the middle. This is an odd front. There are multiple defense, so they'll run 3 down defensive linemen. They'll bring a lot of different blitz looks. That'll be one thing too to see how Chris handles that, because I know they throw a lot of different looks. On defense, I'm going to go Adam Bach because I think that he stepped up really good, and I hope Logan can go, because this would be his last opportunity to play against an in-state school. So hopefully he can go. He made some huge plays in the spring against them. So that's my prediction.
Yeah. So Logan was questionable last week. So hopefully that questionable turns into probable this week. I just said probable, really weird. So, all right. Defensively, I'm really kind of looking at, again, our safeties to step up a little bit. Like, I think Theo Day proved this week that he's going to put the ball in play and give you a chance to have an interception. He's going to take some chances. We need our senior safeties to start making some plays. They're playmakers. That's what's missing this year from this defense, I think, is just taking advantage of some of those opportunities that are there. So I like Griff. I'm going to take Griff this week. I took Manchagaya last week, taking Griff this week. So
solid. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. So get out, folks. Enjoy Hobo Day. There's a big announcement or a big reveal, launch of a campaign on Thursday for the foundation starting at Club 71. And then it's moving over to the Campanile for the light show, which they did a few years ago, which was just amazing. So if you haven't seen the video of that, it's definitely worthwhile getting to Brookings on Thursday for whatever this announcement is. It's the start of a new campaign. I'm guessing they'll have some lead gifts to announce or something like that. So that's going to be really, really, really cool. It's been just a great fall for SDSU on that front. Oh, geez, better late than never.
The closer.
Yeah. All right. So Dallas again. Dallas is in his busy season.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I was intentionally watching and joined in right at the end because I was going to talk when you were off. It sounded like you're going to wrap.
Oh, okay. Well, Dallas, what's your favorite Hobo Day memory?
Oh man, put me on the spot here. Did you guys already give yours or what?
Yeah, we did.
I wasn't so not prepared to say anything here. Honestly, it's really just a simple fact that it was always the best crowds. I mean, everybody is tuned up, drinking at 7:45 for the parade. It just, everything's alive. Campus feels alive. I know that's a little bit generic, but that's mine.
Hey, that works. We'll appreciate you being here. So again, if you're any students watching this, or if you're a parent of students, encourage your kids to get involved in the campus activities, whether it's the Bum a Meal, the Bum Over, the Bum Olympics. Go watch the parade, like Dallas said. There's so much cool stuff that is just SDSU and that brings people back to Brookings every year to be a part of it. So enjoy Hobo Day, Hobo Week, and have fun.
And it culminates in the football game. That's
Yes,
the biggest thing here. Like, it culminates in that. It's the student support is really starting to ramp up, and I love seeing it. We had coincidentally great support when I was there about 15 years ago now. But it's just continued. There's a little bit of a lull, and now it's just ramped up again, man. So enjoy your experience there. It's once in a lifetime, because really, when can you experience it? When you're early 20 something. person, you know, out and about trying to find yourself and make yourself. So take some pride and some enjoyment in experiencing that.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We talked about it earlier. We just really appreciate you being here and asking questions, sharing our stuff, talking about it with your friends. Just again, thank you. And with that, go big, go blue,
Go
Jags.
Jags.